Well, here we are again, folks. That's what we call professionalism. That's right. Take 2 of the season of encounters. Tonight we're heading on out to Okanogan County, don't you know? I don't think that's how they pronounce it, but hey, we're going to shoot it that way. Washington. We're going back there for a reason. Apparently Bigfoot's seen there a lot. Or is he? Well, we'll get to that. A whole lot more tonight on the Squatchers Lounge podcast. Thanks for getting back into the chat room. If you followed me from part A to part B, well, it's just like that sometimes. I'm the host of this mess, as they say. They call me the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and we're here to talk about Bigfoot. Yeah. At least that's what they tell me. Usually this time of the show, we kick it off with a little bit of news, and I had a whole bunch of news that I was going to share with y'all, but not so much anymore because, yeah, I screwed a whole bunch of that up. So we're just going to see if we can't kick it over to what we want to take a look at. And I believe this will be the one. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Okay, Destination America is going to be kicking off the Killing Bigfoot on February 4th with Bobby Hamilton and Jim Lansdale. Now, I'm just going to make sure that we're still okay. We're still broadcasting. Yay! We got past the opening. All right, that's a little better. Pardon me. Deep in the heart of Texas, Bobby Hamilton has been on the hunt for Bigfoot ever since encountering the monster as a child. Decades later, the world still doesn't have definitive proof of Bigfoot's existence. That's where Bobby and his friend Jim Lansdale and their team of monster hunters known as the Gulf Coast Bigfoot Research Organization have decided to take matters into their own hands. Down south, the hunters believe a sleeker, faster, more aggressive type of Bigfoot is attacking people's homes, farms, animals, and pets. In the all-new series, Killing Bigfoot, GCBRO is on a mission to help families terrorized by Bigfoot and prove once and for all that the fabled creature exists by killing one specimen and providing a body for definitive scientific proof. The 6-episode first season of Killing Bigfoot premieres Saturday, February 4th at Central on Destination America. Now, I've actually looked up Bobby and I've sent him a friend request and he's accepted it. So after the airing on February 4th, see if we can't maybe get him to come on the show and see if we can't talk tactics a little bit, because I'm quite interested. If you want to kill a Bigfoot, you got to be able to predict a Bigfoot. And I'd really like to know how their insight is on how they're predicting the movements of a Bigfoot. So we'll see what happens. He might say yes, he might say no. We might have that show, we might not. Hey, maybe. I can do maybe. It's that no thing that bothers me. All right. You heard us talking about it for a couple of 18 months now. Valley of the Sasquatch this, Valley of the Sasquatch that. Our buddy Doug Hudson of Clone Effects. That's KLONEFX.com. That's right. You didn't think about any of this verbal stuff when you thought up that URL. Anyhow, also Realistic Bigfoot Costume on Facebook. You can is where you can find him. Has been changed to Hunting Grounds. That's right. No, not the rape culture movie about college. Hunting Grounds. I don't know what it has to do with Bigfoot either, but that's just what they call it here. Apparently in the UK, they got to keep Valley of the Sasquatch, but here in America, the release company said, no, that's just a dumb name. Why would we call it? You got Valley of the Sasquatch. Well, it's a Bigfoot movie. Why would you call it Valley of the Sasquatch? Why wouldn't you call it Valley of the Bigfoot? And while we're at it, we're going to change the name. Hell, let's just call it Hunting Grounds. Well, yeah, there you go. A father and his son and 2 friends arrive in an isolated family cabin for a weekend of hunting. A trip deep into the forest looking for wild game uncovers a tribe of Sasquatch that are determined to protect their land. Director John Portanova, writer is John Portanova, stars a whole bunch of people you've never heard of. The effects are pretty cool. The Bigfoot is pretty cool. And there are some seriously gnarly kill scenes. So check it out. Hunting Grounds is going to be released February 7th. I've heard that you can stream it in certain places already. So check your streaming sources if that's your way of doing things. I got a frog in my throat tonight. Wow, it's killing me. Okay. Is this a picture of Bigfoot from Ireland? No. I'm just gonna. I had this whole triad thing that I was gonna spiel out to you people again about. So Bigfoot sits still long enough for the snow to fall on him, but it doesn't melt because he's not room temperature. He's not body temperature. I'm not real sure how anybody can think that that's a picture of a Bigfoot, but I think they just wanted to get this big booty, blue-eyed, black-haired lady on, on the interwebs because it would get a bunch of clicks. That's just my take on it. I could be wrong here, but apparently the mother of one, Ms. Cosfield 49, said, I haven't got a clue what it is, but when I saw it, it really freaked me out. It's not like anything I've ever seen before. So I guess she's never seen a stump with snow on it. That thing's only about 4 feet tall, so I guess it's a mini squatch. I don't know, but no, stop talking about this like it's real too. Oh, and there's one more thing. I can't pass. I can't let this pass up. Sorry. Absolutely not. I cannot. I would just, that's horrible. You guys are getting a peek into my world over here. Come on. Which one is it? Oh, did I delete it? Where is it? Oh, yeah. Incredible Man comes forward with proof of Bigfoot. No. Again, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There are people in Bigfoot groups looking stupid image and video from this dog trainer who was getting butt raped by Bigfoot last year. And aliens. Don't forget the aliens. There was Bigfoot and aliens this guy was getting butt raped by. No, okay, this is horrible. It only has 4 toes. The toenails look like they're made out of onions. I'm not real sure. He's got a hand, a foot, some entrails in a jar. No, okay, just stop it. Don't even click on it anymore because that's what he wants. He wants you to click on it. He just wants his clickbait. No. Why did he pick Bigfoot? Because the alien people would stop listening to him? I'm not sure. But he's a comedian. He's an entertainer. He's just out to entertain you. You jumped on the foot, so he created a boot squatch. So, yeah, no, that's not the way any of that works. That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works. Okay. Look at that. We're still broadcasting. I must be getting the hang of this thing. Whew. Let's talk about Cameron Young's top 5 classic Bigfoot encounters list for the week. That's right. Cameron Young's top 5 classic Bigfoot encounters of the week. Number 5, that's right, number 5, the William Rowe encounter from 1955. Now, I'm going to get that one. I can't remember the details of that one. It's just I get it mixed up. I know it's the other one that I'm thinking of. So number 5, William Rowe encounter, 1955. See, in the other broadcast, I already went through this and screwed it all up. So I'm not going to do that in this one. All right, Number 4, Ruby Creek, 1941 in British Columbia. That's where the Sam Squanch came in to the lady's homestead and ransacked her fish barrels and ate up all the fish and stepped up over the big, tall barbed wire fence in one step that Renee DeHenden had to climb up 2 rungs to get up over top of. There's a famous picture of him crotch straddled on a barbed wire fence. I don't know how smart that was, but anyhow, it's there. Number three, the Bowman story from Idaho. How do you know which one of the beauty contestants is a prostitute? She wears the sash that says Idaho. I heard a comedian say that once. I didn't make that up. Please don't hate me for it. I believe that was a story where the 2 fellows were trapping, and one of them got his head smashed in, and the other one made it back to town. And they found a body when he went back, and he was dead. They called it a Sam Squanch, but I'm not real sure about that story. But both the Bowman story and the Ruby Creek story have Bigfoot campfire stories out there, as does the Albert Osman story from 1924, where Mr. Bigfoot picked him up like a burrito in his sleeping bag, and apparently he keeps his snuff and his coffee and some other things in his sleeping bag where his feet are, because whatever, he does that because those things were there, and that's how he got away. He got the big fella all snuffed up. He ran outside to clear his face full of water, and he ran away. He thought he was there to breed with the young girl for some reason. He had a whole lot of human Sam Squanch love on the brain. Not real sure why. And I think it was to compete with these other fellers, because it happens just the same year. The number one of Cameron Young's top 5 classic Bigfoot encounters of the week, Ape Canyon. Depending on the story that you listen to or read, either A, the fellers are coming back from gold mining, and it was rich, man, because they weren't going home. They weren't going back to town. They was still digging for gold, and they shot themselves a Sam Squanch, and he fell down over a cliff. And then that night, a bunch of Sam Squanches came in and threw giant rocks and attacked the cabin, and they all were shooting through the holes and stuff. Or that happened first, and on the way out back to town, they saw one and shot him and pushed him down over the cliff. I'm not real sure which way that story's told is true, but apparently those two events is what they want you to remember from it. They shot one and it fell down over a cliff, and the Sam Squanches attacked the cabin. So there you have it, the top 5 Cameron Young's top 5 classic Bigfoot encounters of the week. Woo! Now, are we on fire? We are catching up. It is time for camping tips for stupids. That's what it's time for. So we're going to do that right there. And then we're going to do this here. And we're going to pray one more time that we can get by the blocks that old, yes, we can, that old YouTube is throwing in front of us. And we're going to start this bad boy back from the beginning. That's where we were. That's how far I was before I realized I wasn't even broadcasting anymore. So here we go. Camping tips for stupids.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 29. Snow is a cruel, mean bitch that likes to trick you and suck you down into the icy, cold, blue depths and kill you slowly with cold stuff. Yeah. My point is, snow can be deceptively deep, twisting ankles, stressing out knees, and overall just making taking out the trash a huger chore than it should be. So what do you do about it? Move to Hawaii. Can't do that? Turn into a dragon and burn that snow away. Can't do that? No shit, wear snowshoes? Snowshoes work by spreading your load. Weight out across the snow, so you don't sink into it. Kind of like a boat. More dumb because it's your huge, stinky, liberal millennial foot instead. A basic rule of snowshoes: the wider the shoe, the more powdery and deeper it's meant for. It's all pretty simple, unless you're in more simple, and God help us all. And if you can't use snowshoes, then there's always Imperial walkers. They can always trek across most anything, except dog shit. They slip and fall in it like newborn horses. It's crazy. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
Well, there you have it, folks. Snowshoes. And if that doesn't work out for you,
Camping Tips for Stupids.
just play it again because, damn it, I ain't got nothing better to do. Hey, look at that. We're still broadcasting and we're changing into another segment. Now it's time for the shout out. So we're going to say a hi to y'all out there in internet lands. How you doing? See who made it over to the swatch over and who didn't. Let's see here. Mr. Dean Cooper. There you go, sir. Glad you are joining with us as well. Let's see here. Mr. Dean. I always get that all over the microphone. Hey, man, how you doing? Kush Tiger. That's right. He's hanging out with us in the lounge hangout as well. Oh, look at that. There's a yeah. Hey, how you doing? Would you mind buying a vowel once in a while? I can't pronounce that gibberish. We'll just call you Gibberish Joe. Let's see here. Who else is floating around out there in podcast land? Mr. Kurt Harris. How you doing there, pal? You're hanging out there. Dave Jackson, man, good to see you. Glad you got your wits about you a little bit, man. I know how that medication gets. Let's see here. Who else is Tom the Dankest? I don't know, man. That's That's a hell of a claim to make. But the life and times of JCM, that's right, Jevin Moore, the Jesus Christ of Monterey Bay, the genius behind Camping Tips for Stupid every week. That's right. And there's Mr. Rock City Marco. How you doing, sir? Glad you could join us. Sam Squanch Rivera, he found us again. Yeah. Part 2. Part 2 for you French people. Let's see here. Who else is floating around? Mr. Rod Dupree. He's in the place to be. He was one of the nice people that sent me a message that said, I hate to be an inconvenience, sir, but you're not on the air anymore, and we're anxiously awaiting your fix, dumbass. So thanks, Rod. I appreciate that, brother. A little jab to the, hey, broadcast genius. Do something about the fact that you're not broadcasting. Let's see here. Who else was floating? Miss Starshine. That's right. She made it back over. That's our number one cheerleader. Let's see. Who else is there? Dynamat Lancer. Yeah, we've talked about that. A Lancer. Got 4 missing cylinders on that thing. Let's see here. Who else is out there in internet lands? I know there's more people out there. There's Gibberish Joe again. I swear, man. People want me to say hi to them when they come into the lounge with a name like that. A couple of bows would really, really help. Let's see here. Dave Stump is in the house. How you doing there, Dave? Glad you could join us as well. I know there's more people in there. B. Lynn. Oh, sorry, sweetie. I know the second show kind of screwed all that up, but we'll catch you again. Let's see here. Who else is floating around out there in internet lands? I'm not seeing anybody. I think I missed. I know I said Mr. Dean Cooper, our quasi-theorist. God bless his wife. You need to all get healed up and stop blowing up your refrigerator, man. You're supposed to blow up the bathroom, not your refrigerator. If you didn't say hi to us out here in Chatland, I don't know you're in the house, so I really can't say it. Say hi down in the comments, and I'll bet you I'll say hi back. You never know. Oh, look, there's Collier Wilmus. He's out there causing trouble. Let's see here. Who else did I miss? Did I miss anybody else? No, I think that's everybody I got. Well, thanks, everybody, for hanging out live with me tonight. That's right. It is the season of encounters, and we are going to try once more to share with you. Oh, no, that didn't work. To share with you the interwebs of... That didn't work out. Let's try this. Oh, yes, it did. Okay, cool. That's right. We are going back to Washington State, and we're going to talk about the season of encounters. That's right. And the very first thing, I hope this is going to keep it where I wanted it to go. It did not. It shared that one with you instead. So... oh, let me fix it for you. Thank you, Google, for just making me look so professional. I really appreciate you taking away all of the tools that we use, that we podcasters use to, have any semblance of professionalism at all. We would really love it if you just stop that. That'd be great. That'd be great. There we go. All right. So, the very first place we're talking about is Twisp, Washington. Let's go ahead and get over here. Now, you look at this town and you don't think that it doesn't look very squatchy at all. Why would anything squatchy live there? And then as we say, well, let's take a look at what Google Earth says about it. And all of a sudden we see the Twisp is in the canyon of a mountain set. One side is shadow, one side is rain, and I'll bet you that all that green is where the encounters that we're going to be talking about closely tonight in Twisp are most likely coming from. It started back in January of 1976. Yes, Class A encounter. 1976, closest town was, in fact, as we said, Twisp, Washington. And... let's see here. The tracks found after hearing crunching snow outside of a cabin. Wife first smelled an odor coming from outside the cabin. The husband was asleep in front of the TV. She paid no attention to it and went to bed. She was awakened by a metallic bang on the back porch and then crunching footsteps going towards the driveway. She got up and noticed that the smell was stronger than it had been earlier. She likened it to something like a bear just come out of hibernation. She finally was able to wake her husband up at around 3:30 a.m., telling him of the events. She loaded her 12-gauge shotgun, gave it to her husband. Well, why didn't the husband have his own 12-gauge? That's an interesting idiom there. Who, with a flashlight, went out on the back porch. He noticed the smell right away. A lifted-up wash tub protecting their frozen food and saw a large man-like footprints on and near the porch. He came running back inside, frightened. The next day, they went into town to get film and plaster. They mixed the plaster too runny, and it soaked through the snow on what they thought was the best track. Seeing their mistake, they made it a little bit thicker batch of plaster, but not knowing better, poured it into the same track. Ooh, they couldn't think of how to get the cast out of the snow, so they decided to wait till spring to thaw it out. They covered it with cardboard boxes, but unfortunately, it disintegrated. 3 days later, they did contact Mr. Peter Byrne, who contacted Mr. Richard Nolan and David Smith to investigate as soon as possible. At the end of the street, another 500 feet away, a young couple heard dogs barking frantically about the same time that the crunching footsteps were heard. They went back to living their normal routine until the wife's son called and stirred up interest. Slowly, everyone in and around Twisp became aware of the events and visited the home to see the tracks. The Wenatchee Daily World started snooping around after hearing some rumors, but it could not find much, so it dropped their interest. So right there on the outskirts of Twisp itself, they're getting a Class A from 1976. A totally believable story. There's absolutely no reason that right there on the rain side of those mountains that the animals wouldn't come almost near down into town for some stupid reason. I couldn't really imagine why. Now the next sighting we're going to be going to is very close to that same location, and that is going to be in Molten, Washington. So let's take a look here over to Molsen. I'm sorry, not Molten, Molsen. And again, here we are. We're in Molsen, and I'll bet you when we zoom out here just a bit that look, we're in Lake High with heavily logged areas and lots of cover. Let's take a look at what their encounter actually said. The 9 Mile Road, which is actually, this is the one that I was actually talking about. Molsen is the actual closest city, but here at the Canadian-U.S. border is where all of this was going on in all this heavily logged area. So when you're looking at it, consider where they're talking about. They're talking about logging roads. The 9 Mile logging road is where they're actually talking about. I rode into work one morning with my boss while logging just off the Canadian-Washington border. We were parked at a landing waiting to get the light enough to start. My boss stepped out of the pickup and said, "Bigfoot?" I said, "What?" I went to his side of the truck to see what he was looking at, and there were tracks about 15 to 16 inches long. I put my feet in them and fell about 2 feet short of the next one, maybe 5 or 6 feet apart. The tracks continued like that as far as I could see. We were leaving at dark every day and arriving before light. It was snowing just about every day or night. The tracks were fresh. My boss seen Bigfoot while he was logging on the Olympic Peninsula and was convinced that they were Sasquatch. I wasn't sure quite yet. Later, while working, I got a chill up my spine, and the hair on the back of my head stood up like it does when a dog or a cat when they sense something. I began flipping my head from side to side to see something, but I couldn't see anything. But I sure felt like I was being watched. Every now and then, the wind would kick up an animal smell. Could have been a wolf. I spotted one in the area. I did hear what sounded like something banging a stick on a tree. I followed the sound, expecting to find a woodpecker, but seeing nothing. We were seeing around 15 to 20 deer a day and hadn't seen any after that day. A truck driver coming up with a load told us that you should have seen all the deer leaving the hill. There must have been 30 or 40 of them down the road. That could have been the wolf pushing them down the road as well, or they just had enough of the snow. There were feet on the ground in places it was 15 below zero. That's crazy. They also noted there was a record snowfall that year and a lot of deer didn't make it. His boss and I were the only ones to see the tracks, and they were concerned with work than they were about the tracks. Old Ray Wallace, put that kind of thing into people. So there you have it. So that's not very far from Molsen as well. Let's see here. The next one that I wanted to talk about. They get a little more exciting than this, people. I promise. June 2006. That's right. The very next place we'll be talking about is Omak, Washington. I love all these Native American names. They're really, they're just like, they're not by Omaha. Oh, I guess those are too. Let's see here. Let's take a look at Omak, Washington. And again, we're looking at a city that's built, as we pull back, probably on the only main road next to the river between two mountains. Look at that. I mean, it's just the same everywhere we're looking here in this county in Washington. Is anywhere these two big mountains come together, there's a little city down in there, and they tend to have some Sam Squanch stories going on. So let's see what these poor people had to go through. Season of encounters. I told you. Nothing but all encounters all the time. That's right. They were leaving Highway 155 from Omak and off on one of the side roads. 2 weeks ago, which was back in 2006, so keep that in mind, and me and my girlfriend were out hunting when we seen something running down the road. It was large and hairy and moved like a mother. It moved fast. We seen it about 40 to 30 yards away. Now, it's pretty close, and we already were driving kind of fast. I'm guessing about 15 to 10 miles an hour. My girlfriend asked me, what was that? And I looked to see a hairy head moving along the road. I drove up the road towards the place it was seen. When I reached the place, it was already gone. I grabbed my pistol and jumped out and looked up the ridge and in the direction it was running. Nothing, no noise, nothing. My girlfriend was scared and yelling at me to get back in the truck, just like Travis Walton. Don't go running off by yourself, dumbass. Travis, get back in the truck. Most of the time, you hear something running away or you hear hops of the deer running hard, but there was nothing. I backed up the truck to look at the road where we had run and left no track whatsoever. If it was a bear, it would have left a claw print in the hard surface sand, but there was nothing. And I looked well. They say that Sasquatch won't sometimes leave a track in those kinds of things because of the wideness and the broadness of the foot works like a natural snowshoe. Look at that. Tied that right into Camping Tips for Stupids. That's what they call a segue. I could see how big and flatfoot would leave no print. I asked her what she saw, and she said it looked like a large man. She was sure that it was a man-type animal. You have to take into consideration that this all happened in a matter of about 3 to 4 seconds. And see, that's what I talk about, people. I had a really long encounter, and that was 20 seconds. I mean, the first sight to the stopping car and jumping out. So it all happened so fast, you can guess that puppy was moving, and it was in a place he could not hide too well, but real buck brush or anything. They also noticed a cow watering hole, and they had also heard that a nearby lake, people had heard the sounds of something screaming around the lake, making weird screams. They said it sounded like a man who was drunk and large. I live in a small town, so we all know what goes on. It was in the pine forest up 155 there in Omak. All right. So let's see here. I believe there was one more that I wanted to talk about here. Yes, indeed. In 1996, I don't know why it got taken back that far, but let's see here. That was in Chopaka Lake Road in Loomis. So that's why I wanted to go here. Yeah. See, I'm so smart. I love talking to myself sometimes. It's just a wonderful thing that nobody yells back. If they start yelling back, I'm going to have a problem. That's for sure. Let's see here. Loomis, Washington. Yep, we're going right up the road here. Just a little piece. And again, if we look at it, it's the only road coming into town between 2 or 3 mountaintops. Look at that. I mean, it's over and over again the same scenario, and it's wonderful because that lends merit from one to the other. Okay, my father, grandfather, and myself were on a fishing vacation that spanned many areas in the north part of the state of Washington. One of our pit stops was one of our favorite lakes, Lake Chopaka, where the trout are huge, hungry, and numerous. I was out on the lake with a tired arm and a grumble in my belly, so I was headed toward camp. I arrived at camp and fixed myself a sandwich. The time was around noon. As I sat and ate my sandwich, I scanned the lake to figure out where I would fit amongst the other anglers when I returned to the water. About halfway through my scan, my eyes stopped on what I thought was a guy trying to get cell phone service. Yes, giant phones in 1996 did kind of work at the top of a small hill, on a little hill directly across from the boat launch. Upon further examination, I thought it was odd that the person was wearing a fur coat. At this point, I went to the camper to get some binoculars so I could get a better look at this point, at the bear. I'm sorry, to get a better look at the bear. Upon further examination, the time is at now 12x zoom. Looking through the binoculars at a 12x zoom. Pardon me. I thought it was the bear had really long arms, walked on 2 legs just as easy as I do myself, and had a relatively short head with ape-like features for a face. I watched it for probably 5 minutes or so as the creature lurked around the tree line at the top of the hill, and just like that, it stepped over a fallen tree and disappeared into the shadows of the trees. Confused and thinking myself delirious from the ravenous hunger developed from a long morning of hauling in heavy trout, I placed the sighting in the back of my mind and out on the lake again. I prepared just in case the ape bear cell phone guy showed up itself again. And sure enough, at about 1 p.m. or so, movement caught my eye near a copse of trees by a rock slide on the bigger hill across the lake. I gave it a good look at the 12x zoom, and sure enough, it was the same thing I saw about an hour ago. After about 2 minutes, it disappeared from view into the copse of trees and was lurking near. My dad asked me what I was looking at, and I told him Sasquatch, and he gave me a head shake and said I was crazy. So here I am now, writing to you guys, the only people that I've told this story to other than my dad, about the 6'5" to 7 foot tall, dark reddish brown fur covered bipedal short head ape face, no neck, long armed, not a bear, sneaky creature that I saw at Lake Chopaka on the 23rd of May 1996 at or around noon, and again an hour later. So that is pretty slick. The reason that I wanted to bring everybody to Loomis is, as you can probably figure out, there was a famous sighting also in Loomis. That's right. It was also in 1996 as well. In May, it was the Memorial Day. That's right, where the Sasquatch runs across the field up there. We've seen it in Sasquatch Legends Meet Science and, the Definitive Guide. I mean, everybody and their brother at the time that there was a documentary got to talking about this particular event. So I went and did a little bit of digging on it. And isn't it a hoax? Everybody kind of concluded it was a hoax because at the end of the video, it gets 18 inches taller. And nobody can really explain is. And through all of my investigation online and taking a look at the stuff that's actually out there, I discovered an email that supposedly came from the father of the woman, Lori Pate, who filmed the Memorial Day footage. This was put out in 2016, and they actually had permission to share it with everybody. So basically, the email reads, I was wondering when you would get where you have to do this. At one time, I got to the point where I got on several forums trying to defend the Chopaka incident where Lori, my daughter, took the Memorial Day video. All I did was open up a sighting to a bunch of people that used every technique imaginable to throw dirt on the sighting. I tried to counter them the best I could to no avail. For one thing, everybody on the internet seems to think that they are experts. You can imagine that two sightings a few days apart, both seeing a bipedal creature sighted by two different people. Actually, one sighting was by a whole string of people. The sightings were actually several days apart, and no one realized this until 11 years later. They even had for a forensic team examine the area, resulting in the release of the DVD. The sighting eventually died because of the campaign against it. One might say that there really isn't enough proof, but let's take a look at the facts. The first sighting was by a fisherman a few days before the Memorial Day sighting in 1996. The guy was eating his lunch on shore when he noticed something looking at him a short distance away. He put the binoculars on the creature and described what he saw. The event has been logged in the BFR website, and the end result is the animal is hairy and estimated to be about 7 feet tall. Derek Friel interviewed the guy 11 years after the sighting occurred and concluded that it was legit. So let's take a look at, I have the lake link here. Let's take a quick peek at exactly where we're talking about. I'm hoping that this will take us there. I'm pretty sure it does. I wouldn't have that link like that. Yep, it takes us exactly where we want to go. This is the lake that we're talking about. The long, skinny lake, and the Memorial Day footage happened up here on this hillside on the northwest corner of the lake. So we're over here, and the Memorial Day footage would have happened somewhere generally in this area. This is a Jeep trail access is back here. You can go back here and camp. Let's continue on with what Lori's dad had to say. He said the second thing was that the second sighting was also logged on the BFRO website, occurred on the Memorial Day weekend in 1996 in 3 parts. The first is when a woman saw this thing running down the mountainside. It disappeared when it got down below. It had ducked in behind trees at the fence line. The woman called Owen, my daughter's husband. When Owen got there, the thing came out again, this time behind a bush at the fence line. The fence is 5 feet high. Owen said that it was around 6.5 to 7.5 feet tall and wide at the shoulders. Lori was called to bring the camcorder. She scanned the hill, nothing. Several minutes later, it came out again, back up the hill at the original location. The creature ran across the hill, not at a pace that you would expect Bigfoots to run. It kind of ran in a spurt and slowed down to a walk. It eventually disappeared behind a knoll on the mountainside, but came out again when suddenly its head became taller. Lori got about 23 seconds of the creature crossing the hill. The actual event was witnessed by about 30 people, and there were probably 70 to 100 people at the site on that particular day. So, I mean, you're just, the creature read another one from this, this same types of area. where these creatures are being seen there, especially in 1996. And now all of a sudden we've got, is it this creature or is it multiple creatures being seen around this Memorial Day weekend? Because there's a whole lot of people in the woods, and I know that for a fact. The Sierras are packed. You can't even get a reservation for a campsite. You just kind of have to show up and take one and hope whoever had the reservation doesn't show up, which is 9 times out of 10. But the places are still packed to the hilt. It's ridiculous how deep people get into the woods for some of these excursions. All right, let's wrap this up just a little bit here. Third thing he wanted everybody to know was after the kids had gotten back home, they called him. He sort of leaned on them for not going back up to where the creature was seen crossing the hill. They decided to go back and recheck things. Owen went back up the hill by himself and took a video of the underside of the trees, the umbrella, and he found a cleaned out area where there was no branches and a number of little bones. Then he came out and ran what he thought was the course of the creature, and he took on the mountainside. When he stumbled somewhat, what was not an easy course to run, Lori took a video from below of that run too. No footprints were found. When they got back, they managed to send copies of their videos. The first thing he noticed is that Owen did not look smaller than the creature running across the hill. In fact, the creature was smaller in height, and this was pronounced difference in what Owen saw. I originally thought that Owen may have misjudged. Owen insisted on what he had seen. The next thing he comes up with was a good Lord. How many is there? Okay, no, we're close. Sorry, this is the last one. A few years later, there was a Bigfoot conference held in Bellingham, Washington. Rick Knoll presented a photo negative of videos of Lori's video. The video was quite fascinating, and it was shown on a large theater screen at the Western Washington University. You could easily see something on the back of the creature. Some might argue that it was a backpack. It definitely was not. It looked too animate to many of us. It looked like there was hair. We kind of ignored it that time, and the part that had the head got taller. Oh, it's very poorly written. Although we were informed that there may be a little one, a baby, in that film. And that's one of the things that I've been talking about in this season of Encounters is the more we enhance these things, the less we see. You're better off magnifying optically. Put it on a projector, put it on a screen, and look at it with a magnifying glass, and you'll see better detail than you will by blowing it up and blowing it up and blowing it up and taking little squares of it. So I think we're going back to pardon me. Good Lord. That's what happened to the live show, people. We have to go back and start re-examining original evidence. And all this doctored up stuff and all this enhanced things are definitely not really helping the table whatsoever. Sometimes enhancement shows a hoax, but in more times than not, it just takes away from the originality of what the evidence was in the first place. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this discussion, today's version of the season of Encounters, with the Memorial Day footage. That's right. That's where it came from, was near the city of Loomis up on the lake. And I see absolutely no reason that couldn't have been a real Sasquatch, even with a little one on its back. The video was just too low of a resolution for it to be of any real use here now in the future. So it's still a shame. But now here we are, we're in the digital age, and we're just looking for some new footage to pop. And unfortunately, all we've gotten lately is a bunch of jokes. But eventually it's going to happen. The NAWC guys, I'm still rooting for you. I'd like to talk to a couple of you guys, maybe even see if we can't schedule a visit down there. I've got some interested people that would like to come down and contribute. We'd all like to come down and maybe work hard for you for a week. So if you're watching, catch me at sloungepodcast@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/slounge, or at the fan page at facebook.com/sloungepodcast. YouTube, of course, same, youtube.com/sloungepodcast. You can find me everywhere. Twitter, yeah, I got one of them too. I bet you can't guess what it is. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I very much appreciate it. And you don't have to go home but you pretty much got to get the hell up out of here for the night. It's just one of those things that's going to happen. No, it's not. Yeah, it was. If I can ever, there we go. I think that's the one. Yay. Absolutely it is. Thanks, guys, for watching. And may the Squatch be with you.